The Chiefs could finally land the weapon that they've been looking for. We're going to talk about our top 10 defensive tackles in the 2025 NFL Draft, so stick with us. Good morning, Chiefs Kingdom. Appreciate you guys rolling in here this morning on this fine Monday. Happy Monday, ladies and gentlemen. It's April the 21st. Mike, the draft is this week. It's draft week officially. Seems like it snuck up on us this year, but I'm excited for it. I'm ready for some news, for some football news. It's been pretty damn dead lately.
Yeah, it's been wild, but hey, we're close. The draft's Thursday. We'll have the newest member of the Chiefs. You want to know? It's going to be crazy though if the Chiefs trade out of the first round. Like, we all want that, but then just having to go another day without knowing who the newest Chief is, we're going to be like, oh, come on, just come on.
Hey, a little bit closer, a little bit closer.
A little bit closer.
Yeah, like I said, appreciate you guys being here. Do us a favor, hit the like button real quick. Help get this out to more people. Also share it with a friend, especially if you're on X or Facebook. That's easy to do. Help your boys out. Mike, we're going to talk about the top 10 defensive tackles. I know the Chiefs could really use some help at defensive tackle. They lost Turk Wharton in free agency. It'd be nice to get a young guy over there by Chris Jones that can really help him for the next few years as he's getting a little bit older. And then, of course, they lost some of their run stuffers with Derek Nottie and so forth. They did re-sign Mike Pennell for a year. And I think that it's just a good opportunity for them to find someone to put alongside Chris Jones there. That could be that guy going forward for the next few years, because this is a pretty deep draft in defensive tackle, in my opinion. I think that there's a couple of guys that could be really good.
Yeah, I thought the defensive tackle seems excuse me. I thought the defensive tackle seemed to be one of the deeper positions. There still wasn't too many that stood out to me that I just loved. And if I were Spags or whoever else, I would like. There's not a lot I'd be banging the table for in there. You know what I mean? It's almost guys I could be like, well, I like this guy in the first, but this guy in the second could be just as good, or this guy in the fourth. If you coach him up just right, he's got the same talent. But I will say this is a deeper position than most throughout this one, and I actually think defensive tackle could be a little bit deeper than defensive end for me. If you look at like defensive end based on what we know Spags likes. Like, there's a lot of the stand-up outside linebacker types, but Spags just doesn't seem to go for those. And so when you look at hand-in-the-dirt defensive ends, they're few and far between, but there are a lot of defensive tackles here that fit our scheme.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a couple of can't-miss guys in this draft as far as defensive tackle goes. I also think there's a couple guys that fit the scheme really well. Some guys that play inside can kick out outside, just kind of the body type that the Chiefs like to have for defensive tackle. I also think there's a couple of guys that just are a ton of upside. So there's some guys at the end of the first round, probably top of the second round, that I think are kind of risky. So we'll talk about that. And let's go ahead and get started, man. We'll just kick it off with number 10.
Yeah, number 10. Let me share the screen here. I'll get this in for you guys. Number 10, we're going to go with Florida State defensive tackle Joshua Farmer. Joshua Farmer, 6'3", 305. He's got 35-inch arms. I think that helps this kid a lot. He's got 10-inch hands, so he's got some catcher's mitts on there, Steve. Like, if he puts those hands on you, he could probably take your entire face. You couldn't even see it. You know what I mean? Like, he'd just take you up by the head.
Got some D-hop hands.
Yeah, for sure. I'll scroll down just a little bit. You can see his 40. 40-yard dash, nobody cares on defensive tackles, but you want to look at that 1.77 10-yard split, 29-inch vert, 9 and 4-inch broad jump, and then a 26-inch bench press, 26-rep bench press. You can tell it's been a long week, and it's only Monday. But yes, Joshua Farmer, he's a kid, Steve, that the Chiefs have talked to. They've met with him at certain points during this whole entire, pre-draft this process. And so this he's just a big frame. I mean, at 6'3", 305, he's a big frame. He's going to be more the Mike Pennell type, not as much as, the Turk Wharton type. But he can get after the quarterback. He's got almost a 10% win rate. I think it's closer to like 9.5 when it comes to pass rush. And his run defensive grade just not that great. Like, honestly, you would think what he's brought in for would be that big run stuffer type. And it's just not that good. And that's why, like, I was debating even putting him in the top 10, Steve. Before me and you started, we were going back and forth between him and a fella out of Indiana who I really like, CJ West. But a lot of people aren't as high. So we chose to just go Josh Farmer here because the Chiefs have spoken to him. And, I mean, he's got some sack production. He's got 13 sacks over the past 2 years, Steve. So you combine that with 27 hurries. And, I mean, you've got something to work with at the next level because you've got the big NFL body. And you do have some juice within a pass rush. You just got to get this guy's run defense a little better.
Right. Well, the thing is the juice, Mike. He's got an explosive first step. If you watch the tape, that's kind of what pops off the tape to you. Just very quick. So, like, he might not be the fastest guy in the world, but of course he's a defensive tackle, but he's very quick. If he's lined up in a 3 technique, I think he's got elite quickness at times for his size. He does have a nasty push-pull-swim combination. He does that pretty regularly. He can put some pressure on the quarterback, which is good. You know, it's a big guy. Like you said, you would like for him to be a little bit better at the run defense because that's kind of what you need in there alongside Chris Jones. I think there's a couple of other guys that offer what Farmer does, but also offers a lot better run defense. And we'll talk about those guys in a little bit. But, I mean, overall, I think he's a pretty good prospect. I think he kind of deserves to be in the top 10 here just off of his athleticism alone. In comparison to his size, I think, you know, he's a kind of a high-level athlete that can close space in a hurry, and it's kind of a rare thing for a guy of his size. So I think that's kind of what helps him and helps him get up the draft boards a little bit over guys like the kid from Indiana. I just think that he just has some juice as a pass rusher, and that's about it for now. But I do think this is a guy that could develop as well. Obviously, when you're talking about a day, this is probably a day 2 guy. I think he's probably a 3rd rounder or somewhere in that range, 3rd or 4th. But I think you still got some polishing up to do with these kind of guys. So, I mean, just from kind of the upside here, he could be a good pick for somebody. He's just a little inconsistent on his pad level and gets kind of washed out of plays a little bit sometimes. And he can't shed blocks very well, which is making it rough on his run defense. So I think he could develop into something decent. But I personally don't like him as a fit for the Chiefs because of that reason alone. I think that we need somebody in there that can kind of do both things.
Yeah, Josh Farmer, like you said, I think he's more like a round 3, round 4 guy. He was second team All ACC in 2023, and he was an honorable mention All ACC. He started all 12 games in 2024. So I mean, he's got the playing. He's got the starts under his belt. He's got things like that. He's had a rough life too. His dad passed away when he was only 2. He had internal bleeding after having stomach surgery, and his mom passed away when he was only 11. She died of a brain aneurysm. So him and his 6 older siblings, rough, time. So this kid's had to grow up quick. I think that is a positive to some of these scouts and different things because they see it as they're more, they're more like life ready in a way, and they're not going to get out there and get in trouble and do all kinds of stuff like you see from all these kids nowadays, it seems. So, yeah, man, I think he's not bad. Let's bring up number 9. Number 9, we're going to go with TJ Sanders from South Carolina, and it should be bringing it up on the screen for you guys right here. Here you go. He's from Marion, South Carolina. He chose to stay home. TJ Sanders, 6'4", 297. So he's going to be more your Turk Wharton style in a way, but he is still probably good 15 pounds heavier than Turk Wharton. I want to say Turk Wharton probably played at about 285 max, somewhere in that 280, 285.
Yeah.
But this dude's still big hands, 33-inch arms, obviously. He was 7th in production score, 6th in athleticism, 7th in total score, Steve. I feel like I could have got a little higher on TJ Sanders than I initially than this number 9. It feels like I should have put him higher. But I mean, because at worst, I think he's going to be a rotational guy, right? Like, I think he's going to be a rotational dude. He's going to be fine. He's got good lateral quickness. He can shoot gaps. He disrupts in the backfield. That's what he does. But I do believe that he's very sloppy where he puts his hands and his hand placements a lot. And then I feel like he's got to get a little better on play strength. I don't feel like he showed a lot of stoutness on that interior a lot of the times, and that's one of the reasons I just couldn't slide him any higher than number 9.
Yeah, so TJ Sanders, I think he kind of reminds me of a guy from a couple years ago, or it might have been last year. It was Michael Hall Jr. from Ohio State.
Yeah, it was
just
last
kind
year.
of a little bit undersized, but he has a good explosive first step. This is just like the last kid we were talking about. I think the thing that pops off the tape to me when you watch him is just an explosive first step. He's got good short area quickness. He's very competitive, very tough. And he played in that SEC conference, which, he got beat around quite a bit, and he had very good competition. But like you said, he's consistently active hands, the line of scrimmage. He's scheme versatile. He can do a lot of different things. He does have an advanced pass rush repertoire, which is like kind of like Felix did. Like as
Use those big French words on us. A repertoire.
yeah. But like kind of like that. The thing that scares me about guys like that, it's like you see their college tape and it's like, oh, they have all these different moves. They can pull all these out of their bag. Oh, I thought the same thing about defensive end Felix and Udike Uzama, and then when he gets in the league, it's like,
It's a different
maybe
beast.
maybe it's not so polished. So I kind of hate throwing that in there. But I mean, overall, this is a kid that I think he's a little bit better at the run defense than the guy we talked about prior. But I think Farmer might be a little bit better of an athlete for his size. This kid, like I said, he's a little undersized here. He's under the 300-pound mark. So, of course, he's a little bit quicker. But I don't know, man. I think he's kind of in the vein of a Turk Wharton, something like that. The only thing I noticed with him, though, is he's very good at the beginning of games, but he tends to wane off at the end. He's got some conditioning to do. Kind of gets lost in the sauce as the game goes on. I think it's just going to be one of them things. This is another player that I think would be in the same range. TJ Sanders, a lot of people have him in the second round. I think he could fall to the third. I think he's a guy that needs a little bit of polishing up in the league.
Yeah, second, third round for TJ Sanders for me. I'm not for sure anybody loves him enough to have him in their top 5, so I wouldn't see him getting drafted in the first round. But he does have 10 sacks over the past 2 years. He's got about 35 hurries, give or take. He's batted 6 balls, so that's another thing that a lot of these defensive line coaches like. If you can't get to the quarterback, you get your hands up, you bat a ball. He's got a 90 rated PFF grade for true pass rush, and he's got almost a 13% pass rush win rate. So he can do that, and he does have a higher score on run defense than Josh Farmer did, and this guy's playing at 15 pounds less. So I feel like run defense and a lot of, like we always talk about pass rush, kind of like the George Karlaftis thing.
Yeah.
We talk about, you got to be relentless. You got to have a motor. I feel like sometimes just going and stopping the run is a lot of just wanting to do it as well. Like you got to be gritty and you got to just want to stop it. And I believe that TJ Sanders has that. I wouldn't be surprised if TJ Sanders wasn't on a short list for the Chiefs for like a top 3 round selection if it were to come to that.
Right. I think he's a good player for a team that does a lot of twists and stunts and stuff like that. I think he excels at that.
Matter of fact, I think did you get to see the last mock draft that the Casey Star did? Like Casey Star kind of crappy. I wanted to crap all over the mock draft they released yesterday. But honestly, I would have settled and been like, hey, it's not too bad. So then they actually took TJ Sanders at the end of round 2, I believe. So it was either that or the first pick in the third round that we got from Snead. So they actually had us taking TJ Sanders. So they felt that he was also a fit for the Chiefs. I think he would be on a short list because he is like in that vein of Turk Wharton.
Yeah, for sure. I think so too. Let's go ahead and move it along, man. We'll go to number 8. This is one of my favorites in this class, actually. I mocked him to the Chiefs in the third round in my first mock draft. That's Alfred Collins, defensive tackle from Texas. He's 6'6", 332. Mike, I love the kid. I think he's just got good size. He just fits the part of a Spags defensive lineman, defensive tackle. He can kick out to the edge as well. I mean, the film doesn't lie with him, man. He dominates in the run game, got rare power. His processing speeds are great. He can pick up on plays quick. He could stack, shed, could control gaps. It just completely jumps off tape at you, man. He's just got the run game on lock. And the thing that I really like about him is they want to talk about some of his pass rush limitations and stuff like that. And I think there are some. I mean, you can't sugarcoat it, but at the same time, I feel like this kid does a great job of collapsing pockets. He might not get to the quarterback, and he might not get a ton of sacks, but he's going to make whoever's beside him's life a lot easier, and that's what we need beside Chris Jones. This kid definitely helps in the pass game big time. Also, we've talked about 1,000 times, he had more batted balls than anybody in the NCAA last year. He's always got his eyes up, paying attention, got his hands in the air. He's just a disruptor, man, and I really like him. Like I said, I like his size. I like the way he plays. I think he checks both boxes as far as having a good run defender in there and somebody that can help in the pass game. Also, you can kick him outside. We all know Spags likes to move his guys up and down the line.
Yeah, when I watched Alfred Collins, he was one of the first guys that jumped off the tape to me that he seemed like a Spags guy. You could kick him inside at 6'5", 320. You could play him off the edge. I've got the actual numbers. In 2024, he played over tackle. So he was playing like a defensive end position, 129 snaps. He actually played 19 snaps from a wide 9, which means he was rushing off the edge where you rushed outside linebackers. He did 300 snaps from the B gap, and then he played straight up nose for 146. So this dude can be moved up and down the line. He's got back-to-back years, Steve, of being rated higher than an 80 on PFF, and that's pretty difficult. His run defensive grade is an 85 as well. That is one of the higher ones in the class. His pass rush win rate, not as good as you would expect. It's only 7%. He has only managed to have 3 sacks in the last 2 years, and he's only had 3 hits as well. He generates hurries. He's got somewhere around that 30, 35, 40 mark. But his big thing is just being a disruptor and allowing everybody else around him to get home. He just eats blocks. It's kind of like Chris Jones in a way, when Chris Jones last year did not have the big numbers, but you see how he impacted the game. Alfred Collins has been able to do that. And I think, honestly, and I've seen this written somewhere, some scout had said that if the right coaching takes place with Alfred Collins, that you could see Alfred Collins being one of the best, if not the best, defensive tackle in this class.
Absolutely.
He's a former 5-star recruit coming out of high school, so this kid has been good all the way through. He's just long, he's strong. He's bound to get the friction on. Like,
Dude,
what's that song there? That's what I was singing, man.
yeah, I just think that he fits exactly what the Chiefs need. There is one drawback here, and one thing where I don't think he fits into the Chiefs mold, and that's that he's a little bit older. He's going to be a 24-year-old rookie, so that's not something that Brett Veach and crew normally like to go for. So that could hinder him as far as getting picked by the Chiefs. But, I mean, if you just look at everything else, I think the guy's got it. I think he can do a lot of what we need.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Alfred Collins, Steve. You like him a little more than I did. You probably would have put him in your top 5?
Yeah, I actually had him at number 5. Of course, we talked and collaborated, and you give and you take a little bit. And I let Alfred Collins go down just a little bit, but I mean, I think I do like him a bit better than a lot of other people do. So I probably maybe overvalued him a little bit, but I think it's fair to put him where he's at number 8.
I see what you like about him, but at the same time, it's hard to give a guy a top 5 off pure projection. And like we said, his numbers haven't backed at this point. He has been a disruptor, though. I will give you that. He's helped a lot of guys on that Texas team become pretty prominent in the pass rush game, different things like that. Steve, you want to get to the chat for just a second and get some of the
yeah, let's do it.
The stuff, and I'll get the next few players loaded up.
All right. KT, been a member for 17 months now. It says KT Lee. I think that was Chief KT at one point. I'm almost positive, or something like that. I can't remember. It says Chiefs will reach for another Sky Moore Felix. Be prepared. So I think you always have to be slightly prepared for something like that, right? I mean, Brett Veach, as good as he's been in the draft, he's been equally as bad at times. I think, most notably would be McCole Hardman, Breland Speaks, Sky Moore. Felix is still, I'm not completely out on Felix yet. I want to see what he does this year, but damn, he's, towing the line there. So, yeah, he can do this from time to time. So, I mean, it's never a lock with Brett Veach. It's always interesting. But he hits just as much as he misses. I mean, he gets a lot of good late round guys that you don't expect and things like that. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully they'll be able to get somebody that can contribute right off the bat. That would be ideal. And then Bout Time, been a member for 13 months now. Says Mike jamming Baby Got Back.
Baby
I
got
think that's what he
back.
meant to say. Abby Got Back might be like a weird cover. I don't
Abby got
know.
back. Just just kind of like a weird song you sing to like your girlfriend, and it's just like she don't like you. Like she gets the ick over it.
About Time also says 13 months my ass. It's been a lot longer than that. A lot of people's are a lot longer than what it says. It's because if you guys remember, YouTube went complete slap nut on us last season. So
Yeah,
it kind of reset a lot of things. But yeah, Mike, let's go ahead. Let's move it along. What do we got next?
yeah. We'll move it along. What are we on? Number 7.
Yes.
Number 7, man. We got Darius Alexander out of Toledo. A lot of people may put Darius Alexander a little bit higher than what we have at number 7, but I think it's fair because Toledo isn't the greatest competition. I understand that. But all of his measurables and the fact that he's had 3, not even 2, he's had 3 pretty solid seasons at Toledo. He's 6'4", 305. So he's kind of he's like sort of the Josh Farmer type, a little bit bigger than the Turk Wharton type that you would want. But this kid has got a little bit of juice in his step. 34-inch arms,
Yes.
10-inch hands too. He's get these big mitts, man. He'll put them on you. He's the first to make contact a lot of the times. He looked pretty good in the Reese's Senior Bowl. I believe it was the Senior Bowl he played in. But I really like the way Darius Alexander plays. He scored overall a run defense grade this year of a 90, which is super, super high. So he can play against the run. He can get after the passer, too. He's got 11 sacks over the past 2 seasons. He's got over 50-some hurries, 55 maybe, over the past 2 seasons. So he can get after the passer as well. Again, you're not playing as high-quality players at Toledo as you're going to be playing in the SEC or somewhere, right? So there's always that little bit of a drawback. But if you go back and watch some of his games, he did play some SEC teams this year. He played Mississippi State and had a pretty decent game. I want to say like week 2, week 3. And then I think he played an ACC school in the bowl. I don't remember who it was, Boston College or somebody like that. But he didn't do too bad in the bowl game either. So I take that back. It was Pitt. Okay, I found it right here. It's Pitt. And he scored really high. He scored higher against Pitt than he did against anybody. So that was against ACC talent. So I do think he's got what we would like. And he can also play, Steve, outside and over the tackle. He's got over 70 snaps of moving up and down the line, not just playing the A gap or the B gap. So I think he's a Spags type guy. He's got that big body. He can set the edge. He's probably not going to be as quick as like a Carlos Dunlap or anything like that, but I could see with some conditioning and stuff like that, that's the style of player I could see coming from Darius Alexander with probably more potential in the run game.
Yeah, well, like you mentioned, I think he brings legitimate scheme diversity, right? Like he can line up anywhere from 0 tech to 5 tech. He can 2 gap. He can penetrate just based on the assignment. I think he's good to go. I actually thought he fired off the line pretty well, man. I saw somebody kind of explain it as he's like a coiled spring.
Yeah.
Like he just fires right out like he shot from a cannon every play, which is great. And I love the quickness. I love, the strength this guy has and the fact that he can just instantly create havoc in the backfield. Obviously, that's something that you love to see. But I think that that's also his detriment as well. Like, I think he just kind of over pursues sometimes. He loses his, his run lane integrity, stuff like that. Like, he just gets a little overboard sometimes. Also, he's kind of a hot and cold as far as his motor. I think this is another guy that could use some conditioning. Usually towards the end of the games, he kind of fizzles. So he's just a high energy guy, explosive off the line. He can do a lot of different things though, man. And he shows a lot of promise. He flashes a lot of understanding of angles, leverage points, stuff like that. He can change direction quick. Just kind of, he's a big dude, but he also has some rare mobility for that size, where you can kind of, sometimes you can see him hunting down screens and stretching plays out. He can change direction. Probably a guy that's, 40, 50 pounds lighter than him. And so he's an exciting player to watch. I really enjoyed his tape, but I definitely see some drawbacks as well. Mike, you said that a lot of people would probably have him up a little higher. I actually had him down just a little bit lower. I had him back behind Collins and everybody else, but I think I had him at 7 or 8, I believe. But I do like Darius Alexander a lot. I think this is somebody the Chiefs could take a shot on. Second round, maybe. I think that's kind of a good spot for him.
I just don't know if he's going to get there, man. I think if the Chiefs passed him up at that first round pick, he wouldn't be there. I think he'll go top 40 picks.
This is one of those guys that I was talking about earlier, and there's another one later on our list, Walter Nolan. Everybody knows him. Of course, he's going to be up towards the top of our list. But this Darius Alexander is one of those guys for me, too, where I feel like if you're taking him at the end of the first round, you're really taking a risk. I don't feel like that these guys...
Is it small school? Is that what you're worried about there?
With him, it is. And I just think that there was some inconsistency. So, to me, Darius Alexander, to me, it's kind of like what he could be. Like, he's got the high ceiling. But I also think that he could have a low floor. And that's what I see with a couple of these guys. But I do like I said, I loved his tape. I thought he was fun to watch. If he could get his conditioning down, be a little bit more consistent from play to play, and maybe not fizzle at the back end of games. I like the explosiveness, dude. I love the fact that he's a disruptor as well. He's always in the backfield.
Yeah. So moving on, man. Our next one up is definitely a disruptor in the backfield. So if you want some explosiveness and some disruption, Tyleek Williams out of Ohio State. He's coming in as our number 6 guy, Steve. And I absolutely enjoyed watching Tyleek Williams' film at 6'3", 334. He is a monster.
Big boy.
And he would clog everything up. He could shut down run, but he had just violence in his hands. And then you would think a guy at 334 pounds wouldn't have these feet, man, but he shuffled his feet. There were times it looked like he was a running back going through the hole down there with the feet. So he's just got big hands, big arms. The dude makes contact. He's violent. There was just a lot of things that I really liked about him, man. I thought he located the ball carrier very well from everything I watched. I thought he had really good quickness off the snap to be his size. Tyleek Williams was just one of those players that I actually really enjoyed watching. He had a better run defense grade than he did a pass rush grade, which you would expect. A guy that's 330, 340 pounds is not going to have the most amazing pass rush win rate, right? You're not expected to go get sacks as a defensive tackle. We've been very babied with Chris Jones to do that.
Of course.
But there are only a select few of those type of guys that do that. You usually clog up the run in the middle, you collapse the pocket, and then your defensive ends get to eat, right? But this kid has produced for not just 2 years in a row, but 3 straight years. He's not had a big sack production. Again, he's had 2 sacks, and then this past year he had 3. So he's literally had only I want to say 9 sacks, 7 sacks, something like that. I think 7 sacks. So it's nothing crazy, but I think he disrupts a game so well, Steve. And he doesn't play outside the tackle. Like, he's not going to go out and play a defensive end at this size, but he can play, several techniques right there in the middle. He can play nose. He can play, he can shade the guard on the inside. In the A-gap, he can shade the guard on the outside, like a 3 technique, different things like that. So he's got plenty of things he does well. Really like Tyleek Williams, Steve. There was just a lot there. He was just, to me, he was just super impactful, and he's powerful. That's just what I like. I think he's a day 2 pick at worst.
100%, man. He was one of my favorites, actually, watching on tape. He just brings that alpha dog mentality, man. He plays with visible nastiness, physically dominant. He's just really fun to watch. Just raw power, basically, is what you could say. I'm sure if you watch the tape, you'll see him consistently walking centers backwards. He's got a badass bull rush. The kid's a disruptor, like you said. He did make Bruce Feldman's freak list, by the way. He ran a 100 meter in 10.7 seconds at one point, which is wild for a guy his size. His burst got him on that list because his 10-yard split was 1.62, which is absolutely amazing for a 300-plus pounder. Something else interesting about him, man, he actually had this crazy physical transformation, right? So when he arrived in Columbus at Ohio State University, he was actually 360 pounds, and he completely reshaped his body. into a 327-pound guy. So, I mean, he lost a ton of weight. He put on a ton of strength. And like you said, man, it's just really fun to watch him get in there and disrupt. I mean, that's the name of the game with Tyleik Williams. It's really fun to watch. I think there's some little things that he could work on. Pass rush arsenal's a little weak. He kind of just bull rushes every time, but he's damn good at it, by the way. Of course, they're going to talk about his below average arm length and some conditioning concerns, which, I mean, that's going to be a constant. You've heard me say that a couple times too, but that's going to be a constant theme with defensive tackles. I mean, hell, you even see Chris Jones getting gassed at the end of games sometimes, especially in the last couple of years where our offense can't stay on the football field. You're going to see these guys getting that way. So but that's just kind of a thing that you see a lot with these bigger guys. But I think that Tyleik Williams could be a huge piece to a team in the NFL. I also had a second-round grade on him. And I think he's super fun. Just a rare athlete. And like I said, I love the alpha dog mentality. I love the viciousness he brings to the game. I don't think you see that a lot anymore in the NFL. You remember back in the 90s, you had all those guys that just had that nasty attitude and just wanted to win, just super competitive. You don't see that just a whole lot anymore. There's a few guys in the game that do that. I know like Max Crosby and a couple other guys are just really intense, but I think you get that from this guy. I think Tyleik Williams brings you that intensity, and he's just fun to watch.
Yeah, Tyleik Williams was one of my more fun guys to watch. Let's get to this. Oh, we already got to that. My bad. It just popped up on the screen. Look at that.
Hey,
Abby got back.
I'm ahead of you. You just wanted to bring up Abby got back.
I did. I was sitting there being like, I think my computer's just a little behind or something, man. I'm clicking everything over here. But, big time. I wanted to get to this one. He said, could they trade George Karlaftis? Yeah, we had a video about this, Steve. Just a few days ago, we had released this one. I like George Karlaftis, man. I think it's going to be very hard. Like, if you were to even look at this draft, there's very few of these guys that I believe that could come in and be as much of a disruptor as Karlaftis is going to be for the next 4 or 5 years.
No.
Is Karlaftis a top tier pass rusher in this league? I don't think so. I don't think he's top 15. Like, I don't think he's top tier. I don't think he's going to reset the market, Steve. They kept saying he was going to make over 100 mil. I'm not seeing that. Somewhere around 70, 80 million in that ballpark would be about what I would think would be fair for him. But I don't want to get rid of George Karlaftis if I don't have to. I really like the way George plays. I like his attitude. He's a good kid. I think they'll do whatever they can to sign him and keep him in Kansas City.
Yeah, I love George. I love the consistent motor that he brings. Everybody talks about that. But, I mean, he's just always working, right? I mean, on and off the field. I mean, you get that consistency with him on the field. You know he's always putting in 110%. Even when he's not closing in on the quarterbacks, he's always making their life a living hell. He's doing his best. He's making plays here and there. I really like George Karlaftis. And every offseason, you see him working his ass off. He's always trying to learn. He's always a student of the game, no matter how long he's in the league. We're going on, 3-4 years now. This will be his 4th season. He's still trying to learn from everybody around him and do what he can in the offseason. He's just a good player to have, man. That's the type of player that you want on your team. I think they're going to do what they can to keep George around as well.
Yeah, same. Okay, man, let's jump back into our defensive tackle rankings. We're at number 5 here, Steve, and this is where it starts getting fun.
Top 5, baby.
This is where it starts getting really fun. And at number 5, and I'm telling you, I don't know if we're just higher on this kid than anybody else.
Mike, you got a lot of hate for this pick in your mock draft.
Well, everyone can suck it, number 1. And number 2, I'm telling you right now, there's something about this guy. When you watch him on tape, he flashes. He flashes. He is very, very quick. Omar Norman-Lott, Tennessee. He's 6'2", 291. That's what he weighed in at. So he is like right there with Turk Wharton. If you want a Turk Wharton guy and you want a guy that's just going to come in, he's going to play next to Chris Jones, and he's going to come in on more or less pass rush plays, get after the quarterback, high motor, bring it, go disrupt. This kid right here is the one to do it. Tennessee is always kind of a little odd in a way. They were odd with Jalen Hyatt at wide receiver. You never can project their wide receivers, right? Because they run that weird Josh Heupel offense. So on the defense, they kind of do the same thing. They have these hockey-esque rotations with their interior linemen and things like that. So they really didn't put him on the field a lot when there were chances of the run game. So you really don't know what you're going to get there when it comes to run defense. However, he did rank right near a 70%. I'm not for sure exactly what it was, but he rated right near the 70 mark on PFF, which is still pretty high. But his pass rush win rate is insane, Steve. At a defensive tackle, he wins 19% of his pass rushes. He has an 82 pass rush grade, and in a true pass rush grade, a set. So I'm not talking, all this like cute stuff and all this run pass option RPO stuff and all this crap. When the guy takes a 5-step drop, he wins his pass rush grade. 88 is the pass rush grade there. Omar Norman-Lott can flat out disrupt the game. He can get after a passer. In the past 2 years, he has 10 sacks in 2 years. He's got 20 hurries, and he'll come get you. He is very, I don't know how else to say this. He's kind of green to football in a way. He's not played very, very long. So I think he's still like his ceiling has not been tapped into. He's spot start over at Arizona State before he transferred to Tennessee. So he's got a little bit of football background, but it's not super immense. I think everything that this guy has, he's supposed to have good character off the field. They all say he's a very, very good in the weight room. He's a workhorse. He's just a guy you want on your team. He's just athletically gifted, man. He's athletically gifted. He's got great hand usage. Like you said, it's hard to say this because Felix had it, but I feel like he does have pretty good pass rush plans. There were times where he would chop. There was times he would spin. There were times that he would just bull rush. It's like he can get all this, and he was very good. He's only 23 years old. There's a lot to like about Omar Norman-Lott, Steve, and I think he's going to fly up draft boards. He may not get in the first round, but he will not, in my opinion, last to our second pick in the second round. And that's why, if you really think that you want a disruptor guy to sit next to Chris Jones like a Turk Wharton, you would have to take this guy at 31. He's not going to be there at 64, in my opinion. If he is, I'd be super surprised.
I would agree with you, man. I think that a lot of people are undervaluing Omar Norman-Lott. I noticed when you picked him in your first mock draft, there were several people on X and stuff just talking about how it was crazy. He's a 3rd-round pick at best, and I'm just like, they're severely undervaluing him. And I understand that there's some work to do to make him like a 3-down guy or like an every-down player. He's not the greatest in the run game. I think sometimes when he's out there, you would see him just getting caught guessing half the time in the run game, kind of hesitant, stuff like that. But the thing about it is, Omar Norman-Lott is going to be a massive piece for a really smart defensive coordinator that's going to utilize him in the pass game. Like, the kid's insane, extremely explosive. The first step's crazy. Crazy power, nasty hand fighting ability. He's a quick processor on stunts, twists, stuff like that. He runs hot as a pass rusher, man. Relentless motor. And the thing that I really liked about Omar Norman-Lott when I was watching his tape, Mike, was he kind of got that Chris Jones in him. And what I'm talking about is when it's the fourth quarter or you need a big play, that's when that dog comes out in Omar Norman-Lott. He's going to get back there and he's going to get a sack when you need it. That timely sack that Chris Jones always gets, that we know and love. This is a guy that can do that same thing. Like, he rises to the occasion. But he's consistent push on his bull rush. He keeps his pads low. He's extremely, strong and can just kind of collapse a pocket, push center back, whatever you want him to do. Lots of reps that I saw where he just flashed complete dominance, like overwhelming blockers to where they couldn't really do much with him. Just a combination of his, first step quickness and then just how powerful he actually is. A lot of times those blockers looked extremely overwhelmed with Omar Norman-Lott. If he had a drawback to me at all, it's just the fact that he could really use some help in the run game. Like I said, there's some work to do to make him an every down kind of guy. But I mean, as far as a team that just wants to bring him in here and be smart, use them in the pass game, take advantage of those pass rush skills, and the fact that, he's just got that drive and that dog and that want to make a play when it's most needed, I think that goes a long way, man.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I really like Omar Norman-Lott. I think I like him better than most. Again, I'm against the grain. I'm not coming in here Okay. You mentioned how people got mad. Oh, he's a third, he's a fourth round pick at best, blah, 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 blah. These people are not watching film. These people are watching what other people watch and then telling you what they tell you, right? Okay? That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. So where did we see that Omar Norman Lott is a round 3 to round 4 at best? Go to NFL.com and put in Lent Zierlein, and he's going to say he's round 3 to round 4. Okay? Let's not act like Lent Zierlein's not ever been wrong about anything before. Let's act like Mel Kiper has never missed a draft pick before or been wrong about an evaluation. So I don't care what these guys think.
Right.
You watch this show to get my opinion. I'm not going to give you Lance Zierlein's opinion. So if he thinks he's around 3 or 4, great. Go read Lance Zierlein. Right. I think this kid is going to make himself into a top 50 to 60 pick, and I do not think he will be on the board by the time we pick in the second round. And I would be comfortable enough with us needing a DT to take him at the end of the first round, 1,000%, because I think we could develop that. Steve, Richie Rich, I'm just going to stop it right there. I don't know how to pronounce the rest of it. Says he's a Broncos fan. Good show, well done, put together. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you, brother.
You know, we all don't get along. Chiefs, Broncos fans hate each other with a passion, but respect given, you know, didn't come on here talking trash. Props to you, brother.
Hey,
Appreciate you.
Football's football.
Football's football, man.
It's Richie Rich, eh? I think that's what his name is. That's just my guess. But no, Mike, I completely agree with you. I think that Omar Norman Lott's going to be gone before the Chiefs pick in the second round. And so many people just think he's at best a third rounder. I just think that's absurd. I think that goes to what you said. I think it's people that did not watch the tape, and it's people that's just looking at mock drafts and other people's opinions. And if they just happen to stumble on these opinions, then I think that they're just going to have to like it. We think Omar Norman Lott's going to be a second rounder, right?
Lance Zierlein also said that Zach Wilson was a generational quarterback. So.
Well, let's move it along, man.
What do we know?
I know you love Omar Norman Lott. I know that you love
do. I like Omar Norman Lott.
We got to move it along. We got to get it into number 4. And this is a guy that a lot of Chiefs Kingdom is super horny about. It's like you guys accidentally swallowed an entire bottle of Blue Chew.
10, baby.
You got all them Blue Chews ate, and you just started watching Derek Harmon film. But no, man, he's a pretty exciting player. I understand why people like him. 6'4", 313 out of Oregon. He's a good player, man. He's fun to watch. Thunderous hands, a lot of power. You definitely see that in his move, in his tape. Devastating rip moves. He does have a good arm length, by the way. This is one of those guys that kind of break that mold in this draft. You see so many players on both sides of the trenches where it's just like, these guys' arms are short. Derek Harmon's not one of them. Outstanding spatial awareness, good play recognition skills, diagnosis stuff, pre-snap even. Nasty bull rush, collapses pockets. Got that dog I was talking about earlier, man. He's just one of those guys that play very intense, very nasty, I guess is the best word for it. Like I said, he's a quick processor. He can read blocking schemes well. Natural leverage player despite being kind of tall. I just think he's a fun one to watch, man. I don't think he's as crazy as a lot of Chiefs Kingdom is making him out to be. I don't think he's like this lock, got to have Derek Harmon. He's going to be Chris Jones. You know, you've seen it all, right?
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that's the case with him, but I think that if you just watch the tape, you know, just completely objective, I think that you see a legitimate NFL starter at defensive tackle. I'll say that about him. I think he's just got the natural power and the explosiveness. Like I said, he didn't completely blow me away, but I do think he's an easy top 5 guy. And if the Chiefs got him, I would not be upset.
Right. He's played 38 games over the past 3 years in college. Okay. So he's got a lot of starts under his belt, but he didn't get super productive until this last season. He's only got one very productive season. So if you're going to tell me he's the next Chris Jones, or he's a can't miss guy, or he's a guy that you're going to have to trade up to go get, I'm going to be a little iffy about it because
same. Yeah.
Again, he's only had one really good productive year. And even with that being said, he had 5 sacks and 7 hits. So, okay, and I'm not going to down that because, again, this is a defensive tackle. You're not supposed to do that. But, again, that's also why I'm not going to compare him to Chris Jones.
Right, that's wild.
But if you go back and look at Chris Jones, his college stats, they wasn't nothing to write home about either. So you look at intangibles, he does have the intangibles.
He reminds me of what's the kid's name from Clemson a couple years back, Breesy. That's kind of
Brian Brisset or whatever his name was.
Yeah, however he said his name, I don't remember, but that's what he reminded me of on tape.
Was that last year actually?
I can't remember. It was either
last year or the year before. It was very recently. I thought it might have been last year, actually.
It just gave me flashes of him in that Clemson uniform sometimes when I was watching Harmon State, man. That's kind of the vibe I got.
Right. So, look, Harmon was pretty good. His best games came against Ohio State. So, he stepped up against the competition. He played them twice. It was his 2 high-scoring games. So, hopefully the Chiefs, if they draft them, they'll play Ohio State a few times. Hopefully they're in our division. Other than that, he's going to be a guy that you're going to have to work with a little bit, but I like everything about him. He's number 4 for us. I think he's got all the intangibles. There's nobody within this entire class, in my opinion, that are true can't miss. Steve, we talked about the other day. I think I have 11 guys that I've give a true first-round grade to. The problem is 32 teams pick in the first round. So you've got 20 teams that's probably picking day 2 talent in the first round. This is why I think it's funny that people crap on the Omar Norman Lott stuff or whatever. It's like, well, how many times have you watched a draft and the number 14 pick in the draft is just somebody you've never even thought was going to go in the first 3 rounds?
I think 11 or 12 first rounders is pretty fair with this one. I honestly do. I think maybe the only surefire first round defensive tackle was probably Mason Graham, to be quite honest about it.
Yeah, maybe the 2 Michigan kids. I'm starting to put Nolan. I'm starting to think Nolan, whether he deserves to be in the first round, I'm thinking Nolan's going to probably end up going top 20.
Well, speaking of Nolan, if you'd like to move along, we had him at number 3. I'll go ahead and tell you a little bit about what I saw with Nolan. Of course, he's 6'4", 296. He played at Texas A&M. He played at Ole Miss. A lot of good SEC competition for Nolan. So he kind of reminded me of another Clemson guy. If you remember Tyler Davis from, I think it might have been last season, or one of the most recent drafts. Explosive first step, first thing you see. There's a handful of those guys in this one, in our top 10 alone. Just extremely explosive first step. I think Nolan's got one of the best, actually. Impressive lateral agility, can change direction like crazy for a 305-pound dude. Natural leverage winner, always has good pad level, good core strength. Another guy that has that nasty demeanor. Love the competitive guys, and there's a few in this one, man. Talked about Tyleik Williams, and Nolan reminds me of that as well. Just a natural feel for pass rushing for me when I watch him. He just looks kind of natural. He got the quick swim move. He's got an effective bull rush, and he consistently collapses pockets. Even if he's not recording the sacks, kind of reminds me of Alfred Collins and the fact that he could collapse a pocket. Now, I will tell you that out of all of these guys, Walter Nolan scares the living hell out of me also as a first-round pick.
Yeah, Steve. He could be a top 20 pick. He could be a top 15 pick.
So,
and
I'm not saying the kid's
bad.
I'm not saying the kid's bad. Super high ceiling and some great tape. But I will tell you, that great tape is few and far between. There is so much tape where he is lost in the sauce, where you don't even know Walter Nolan's on the football
you're right.
field.
Look, I was just going to say that. I want to say week 5, they played UK. Week 6, they played South Carolina. Week 7, they played LSU. They played Oklahoma. They played Arkansas. He went 5 straight weeks, Steve, without putting up a stat on the stat sheet. I don't think he had a single sack. I don't think he created a single pressure. This kid would go out and bully. He would bully players like Wake Forest or Memphis or Tennessee A&M, whoever they're playing. He will bully those guys. But when he played some of those nice offensive line recruits that UK and LSU and Oklahoma and Arkansas and South Carolina gets, he got pretty, like you said, lost in the sauce. There were a lot of games, Steve, where he just kind of disappeared out
I'm
of
telling
the
you,
blue.
dude. That's what the first thing I noticed with Walter Nolan's tape, because it's like, hey, it's time for us to evaluate defensive tackles. Here, you're excited to watch Nolan's tape, of course, because everyone's talking about him. You've seen him flashes of him, just by watching college football here and there. But like when I went to watch the tape, like there was so much tape where it was just like, what can I look at? Like
Yeah, and again,
he-
just with Harmon, he's played 3 years of college football, but he still only has one solid year of production, and that was in 2024. It's like him and Harmon just got together and was like, "You want to try this year?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." And so maybe it clicked for them more, I guess.
Well,
Maybe
it's
that's a
not even
testament to
that.
them developing.
I'm not even worried about, the overall production, right? I think what worried me more was just his ability to just completely disappear. And I'm not saying that Nolan's a bad player by any means. I think that obviously we have him in our top 3, and I think that's fair. I think 3 is fair for him.
I could see people putting him in their top 2.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen several places that have him at number 2 behind Mason Graham.
So what we're just kind of saying he's just boom or bust. Like
That's
you could
my
get
thing.
somebody
That's
great,
my
or you
thing
could
with
get
him.
yeah.
Like, I feel like okay, so I feel pretty confident that if you were to take like Alfred Collins in like round 3, like you're going to get a solid defensive tackle. Like at very worst, you're going to have a run stopping kind of guy.
Rotational guy.
Yeah, like whatever. And you know what you're getting. With Walter Nolan, you got to spend this first round pick and you're rolling the dice. You're literally rolling the dice. Do you remember how highly touted Mozzie Smith was?
Yeah.
And he went to Dallas, and have you heard a damn word about Mozzie Smith? Actually, I think Dallas fans can't stand him because he's a giant bust. And I feel like Nolan has that potential. Not saying he's a bad player. I think he's a great player. Got all kinds of, potential to be great. But I just, like I said, this one scares me.
There's something about taking defensive linemen for the Chiefs early. I think Chris Jones may have been one of the only ones that actually worked out well. Because if you could think, like, even look at Veach. He drafted Breland Speaks. That turned out to be a bust. If you go back to, like, the Glenn Dorsey days. Remember Glenn Dorsey? He stunk. There are so many, like, defensive linemen that we've tried to draft. And I know George turned out to be okay, Karlaftis, but I mean, there was people saying George Karlaftis was a top 10 pick almost the entire process, and he just fell at the last minute. So, and he's still not hitting like the super high ceiling, and now you do see why he was not a top, 3 or 4 pick in the draft. But the thing is, Steve, is I think all these defensive linemen, you're going to have that. I think it takes defensive linemen a little bit longer to develop. Sometimes you get the guys just come in and set the world on fire, but I think this is a true boom or bust guy, and that is the one thing that bothered me with Nolan, Steve, was that big 4 or 5 game stretch mid-season where he went up against guys that were just as talented as he was for once, which is what you're going to get in the NFL, and he couldn't just run, crazy over him. Like, he had to rely on some of his moves and stuff, and he just didn't have a lot of it.
He just runs a fine line, right? Like if you're trying to draft him at the end of the first round, you're like, oh, I don't know about it. But I mean, if this was a guy like this was there at the end of the second round, you're running to the podium.
Well, it's also one of those things where, like I said, I could see a team taking him in the top 12 to 15. I could see him going that high.
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
But that's also one of those picks that you're like, well, I'm glad you all wanted to try it out at 12 to 15.
And it might be a smart pick.
Right.
It could be.
It could be. You never know, but that's the name of the game with all this, isn't it? It's just,
yes.
You never know what you're
Absolutely.
going to get because, even our number 2 and number 1 guys, they're not like 100% can't misses, in my opinion, because you talked about Mozzie Smith. Where did he come from? Michigan, and now you've got a Michigan guy sitting here at number 2. We've got Kenneth Grant at number 2, Steve. And a lot of people like Kenneth Grant. A lot of people will say Kenneth Grant is the better of the 2 prospects. I've seen that. I think that's a little wild because I do believe Mason Graham is the better of the 2 prospects. But I think Pops even likes Kenneth Grant.
Loves him.
6'4", 331. So, again, you're looking at that big nose tackle type. You're looking at that Tyleek Williams type. The Chiefs tend to take these types of players, though, don't they? Like, every time we go defensive tackle, it seems like we want to draft that big that big bodied 330 plus guy, and we don't really draft that that Turk Wharton style too often.
No,
We
man.
always want that big guy, right?
Yeah, I mean, there was a guy a couple drafts ago, or was it last year? Kalijah Cansey. Like, I felt like that.
Yeah, 2 years ago, I believe.
I mean, that one right there to me was just like, hey, this is one of those guys. Like, you should get him. He's been great for Tampa Bay. Like, they just don't tend to go for that. They always draft them Derek Notties, don't they?
Yeah, it's the Derek Nottie types. And that's what this kid is, man. 6'4", 331. He's got 33.5-inch arms, 10 1/8-inch hands. He's got the production, man. He's got decent athleticism for that size. I really like what Kenneth Grant offers, to be honest. Like, there's a lot that he has to offer. I think that he absorbs double teams very well, which you better at that size. I think he's got good strength in his arms. I think he's violent with his hands. There's many things I do like about his game, but I think he's slow off the line. Okay. And you've got to give everybody some negatives, even though he is our number 2. It's not like you're trashing these guys, but here's the thing. I think when you start doing a top 10 list, you praise guys around the 10 through 5 mark. And then from 5 to 1, you want to focus on what do they not do.
You start critiquing them, right?
Yeah, you start critiquing because this is where it gets real. And it's like, this could be your first round pick. What can this guy do right? That's cool. But what do we need to work on to make this guy go to the next level? And with Kenneth Grant, Steve, he's a little tight in his lower body, which is fine. He's 330 pounds. But I think he's got not very good short area quickness, and I think he's got poor first step quickness. I think it's maybe, I don't know if it's as bad as the cat that you liked out of Florida from a few years ago, Javon Dexter.
Javon Dexter.
That dude was one of the slowest dudes off the line I've ever seen. Like, if you thought Kelsey was slow in the Super Bowl coming off the line on that play, Javon Dexter, he looked like an Olympic sprinter coming off the line compared to Kelsey in that one, right?
Right. Now, you said that, Kenneth Grant has decent athleticism. I think that's selling him a bit short on that one. He was also on Feldman's athletic freak list. He ran a sub 5.40 at 360 pounds. So crazy, kind of a freak athlete type for his size, right?
He didn't do that at the combine, though.
Right?
And that kind of makes me a little angry. You got to go to the combine and run so we can see that you're on the freaks list for a reason, Kenneth.
Right. I think he's got a quick first step, but like you said, I think I don't think that you're saying
it's slow.
Do you just think there's room for improvement?
I think, yeah, but I think there was times where I was like, this guy's never getting off the line, is he?
I don't know. I've seen him on the tape I watched. He got some immediate pressure a few times. He's just a big dude with a good pass rush. I mean, he could do the swim, rip, whatever, spin. He'll do all of it. Quick processor, recognizes blocking schemes and adjusts pretty well. Active hands in the passing lanes, another thing, kind of like Alfred Collins. One thing I liked about Kenneth Grant, Mike, the 3 years of high-level production, right, against elite competition. So he's a proven performer in big games, big moments. Got some special teams value as like a field goal block guy, just because of his length and everything. I guess if I had one thing that scared me about Kenneth Grant was if you go back and you look throughout his college career, he did have a slight problem with weight management. So he played between 339 pounds and 360 pounds in his college career.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty big gap. And when he was on that high end, when he was around 360, his effectiveness and his production dropped. They dipped big time. So I think that this is a guy, he's got to stay around that 340 mark to really get the best out of him. He flashes dominance and also kind of, I guess, to be fair to Nolan, I did see some times where he disappeared for stretches.
Yeah. I think his film was very inconsistent for me in 2024.
But I mean,
for sure.
In the right system, I think he's going to be a game wrecker. He's going to be good as long as they use him right. I mean, the film shows he already dominates one-on-one blocks, so they're going to have to double team him. He's got all the raw tools. what really jumped off the screen to me was how consistent he won the leverage battle against top competition. So he was always getting some penetration no matter what kind of competition he was going up against, what offensive lineman he was going up against. He is going to have to get better at taking on the double teams, though, because that's coming his way. You know it's going to. Just a good athlete, man. He's going to be good in a 4-3 scheme, which that's what the Chiefs do. The Chiefs would have to take this cat in the first round, though, no doubt about it. I think he hits.
Ever going to get to us.
Right. I mean, he'd be a player that would have to fall, right? Like I think that there's a chance that you could see a Kenneth Grant or a Nolan. I think there's a chance. Number one guy, Mason Graham, not so much, but these two potentially. I do think that this guy's going to be somewhere between the 15 and 32 in the draft. So.
Well, I think what he's got going for him is he's young. He's only 21 right now, so he'll be 22 when the season starts. I think somewhere around it.
Well, I mean, he's the thing with Kenneth Grant, Mike, is he's barely scratching the ceiling, right? Like he's got so much. He could be so much better, right?
He's got to get a little more aggressive more often. In my opinion, when I watched him, there was just times where you would think a guy that big would just dominate and just throw people around, and there were times that he just didn't do it. He just did not play aggressively enough for me. So I think he's got to amp that up a little bit, and I think when he does, he could be good. He could also be a guy that relies too much on his size, gets washed out in the NFL, and turns into a bust.
Just depends on the work he puts in, right? And I think that he is on like an upward trend. Like I feel like he's getting better, and he's getting better at the right time, getting ready to go into the league here. I think like I said, he's barely scratching the ceiling. I think like as good as he is, I think there's a lot more untapped. So if he gets in the right position with the right coaching, Kenneth Grant could be a freaking game wrecker. So, I mean, he has that potential.
Yeah.
And if somebody can get it out of him, then, I mean, he's well worth a first-round pick, right?
Yeah, for sure. And number one, if you couldn't figure it out by now, it's Mason Graham, his Michigan running mate. Steve, Mason Graham, to me, just heads and shoulders above everybody in this class when it comes to all this. He scored a 93 run defense grade, a pass rush grade of an 81. He has a 14% pass rush win rate with 9 sacks over the past 2 years, 12 sacks over the past 3 years. So he's got 48 hurries. His production is on par with for example, the Nolans and the Grant, Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant and Nolan and Harmon and all these guys. They're all about the same similar production. Nobody's setting the world on fire and having double and triple, like double-digit sacks. Certainly not triple digits. But they're not having double-digit sacks. They're not doing stuff like that. This is what you get out of defensive tackles. But with this kid, Steve, I see a lot more out of Mason Graham, in my opinion. Like, he's had 2 really, really solid years in 2023 and 2024, okay? Like, his numbers are just almost identical across the board. He didn't fall to the wayside in big games. If you go back and look at some of his most high-scoring games versus Washington, versus Oregon, versus Ohio State, versus USC, versus Texas, like, his worst game of the year was against Fresno State. So it's like against big competition, he performed. And I think you're going to get something like out of him at 6'3", 320. To me, you're getting a guy that can disrupt. I think you're getting a better version of the kid that come out of Florida State last year that was a little undersized that went to the Chargers and actually looked really good. I forget his name, but I think that's what you're getting. I think you're getting a guy who can slash. I think you're getting a guy who can get after the passer up the middle. And I also think you're just getting a guy that can play good run defense. I think he's on the field. He's all 3 down guy. You're not bringing him off and on depending on if it's a run or a pass situation. This kid can do it. I think he is a lock to go the first defensive tackle off the board. I just like what Mason Graham offers, Steve. I think I even seen a scout say he looks like Christian Wilkins. That's pretty high praise.
Were you thinking about Ibba Wigby?
No.
From the Chargers?
No.
No?
No, he didn't go to the Chargers. He didn't go to the Chargers. He went to, I forget his name.
Yeah, you were confusing me there.
I'll find it. Give me a second.
Yeah, I want to know. I'm intrigued now. But no, man, Mason Graham, obvious number one defensive tackle. I think explosive first step, insane leverage, almost like a wrestler. Consistently split double teams on tape, no problem for him. Reset the line of scrimmage in the run game. Rare lateral agility for a 320-pounder. Change of direction off the charts for a guy his size. Hand fighting, best hand fighter out of all of them by far. Violent strikes. Keeps offensive linemen off his frame. Always maintaining the leverage at the point of attack. Exceptional play recognition. He's sniffed out screens. I've seen tape where, he can maintain the gap discipline and just misdirect plays completely. Another guy, just like Tyleik Williams, that has that nasty demeanor. And Nolan Smith, or not Nolan Smith, Walter Nolan. Nolan Smith was the coach for Arkansas basketball, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was also the Georgia player that the Eagles took.
Right. Yeah.
You're thinking of Nolan Richardson.
Too. That's the one. All right, anyway.
The coach of
Walter Nolan.
But
anyway, yeah. I had them all confused. Too many Nolans. But either way, he has that nasty demeanor, man. That that just drive, that competitiveness that you want in a player. Super nimble when running stunts, twists, stuff like that. Just a versatile piece, man. He can play 0 tech, 5 tech, whatever the hell you want him to do. He's going to do it, and he's going to do it well. There's not a whole lot of drawbacks with Graham. I think maybe he has some height limitations, maybe. He's a little bit shorter than you would like him to be. He can get a little bit too high at the end of games when he's a little fatigued. But I think his pass rush arsenal, believe it or not, I think could get a little bit better. I think he relies on the bull rush a little bit too much. And sometimes he just struggles to disengage quick enough off the offensive lineman and latch on to a runner or something like that. But, I mean, there's not a whole lot you're nitpicking with Mason Graham. I think that he's hands down the number one. And like Mike, you said you didn't think there was any, like, surefire guys or just, like, that you thought were for sure going to be good. I would almost give Mason Graham that label. I think that he's one that I would feel super comfortable with taking in the first round. I almost feel like if he's a bust, it's like it's not even on you. Like if you watch his tape and you see what the kid does, it's just like you would have never known. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mason Graham is obviously one of my top 11 first round talents. Like he's obviously in the first round mark. So I mean, I'm fine with that one. It was Braden Fisk, the Rams.
Oh, you're talking about the FSU guy.
He's heavier. That's what I said. Yes. He was heavier than Braden Fisk by probably like 20, 30 pounds. But I seen some flashes, like the way Braden Fisk would just sometimes make himself skinny and just be relentless and get through the hole. And I don't know. There's just flashes there. But yeah, I really like him. Looking back on it though, there were some guys.
He went to the other LA team, Michael.
Yeah, he went to the Rams.
Yeah.
Luigi said it in the chat actually.
Same colors, same city, slap nuts.
Yeah, same slap. No. There were some guys that we didn't talk about today on the defensive tackle position that I think could be and maybe should have been listed somewhere. You know, if we did a top 15, there was a few guys. Steve, I was really big on CJ West out of Indiana. I like his first step. If you look at him in all of his games, the All-Star games leading up to this, I thought he was basically unblockable a lot of the times. So I really like CJ West out of Indiana. I thought he was really good. There was some other dudes that I really, really liked and wish I could have fit in. A lot of people's going to notice we didn't have Shamar Turner in this one. That's kind of wild. Shamar Turner out of A&M didn't get in. But honestly, I just didn't love a lot of his film. Jamari Caldwell out of Oregon, really like him as a big defensive tackle. I thought Ty Robinson out of Nebraska, that's another name you can watch.
Yeah,
Vernon Broughton out of Texas. There's some nice dudes throughout this draft. And then, of course, the Chiefs have actually spoke to a few of these guys, like Tyrion Ingram Dawkins out of Georgia. The Chiefs have spoke with him. You've got Yaya Black out of Iowa, Zeke Biggers out of Georgia Tech. Thor Griffith out of U of L, Steve. That's another kid. I'm telling you,
like
you're missing
a giant obvious one that most people have in their top 10.
Who is it?
You don't like him. You don't like his limitations. Deion Walker from Kentucky.
Deion Walker. I don't think Deion Walker's top 10.
A
I don't even
lot of
consider him
people.
close.
I'd say most of the guys out there have him in his top 10. I think he's borderline. I think he's a day 2 prospect. I think he's better
I
run
honestly
guy than
haven't.
pass rush.
Who's got him in the top 10?
Go look.
I haven't seen anybody put this guy in the top 10.
Deion Walker? Yeah, a lot of people, man. A lot of people have Deion Walker in the top 10.
Who's people? I'm just curious. Give me a name. I don't think Mel Kiper's got him in the top 10. I don't think Daniel Jeremiah's got him in the top 10. I haven't seen him in the top 10 anywhere.
Okay. I've seen him quite a bit in a lot of the lists
I did early in the process, but like when you started watching how he was testing and things, I thought he kind of underperformed everywhere he's looked so far. So he just plays too high, man.
He's a day 2 guy, though. I guarantee he goes in the 3rd round.
I mean,
maybe
I could
4th.
see 3rd and 4th, somewhere in that range. I feasibly couldn't pick Deion Walker in the top 50, top 60 even maybe. I don't think I could do it.
Yeah. Well, that's our top 10 list in defensive tackles. Hope you enjoyed that. Put in the chat who you like, who are your all's favorite defensive tackles in this draft. If the Chiefs were to take one, if they were to take one early, who do you want it to be? But yeah, we'll take a few minutes. We'll get to the chat. If y'all got any questions or anything, throw them in there. If y'all want to talk about something else, some different position or what the Chiefs might be doing, go for it. I've seen a lot of people talking about some running backs and things like that in the draft. Julia Gulia says, book it. They're taking Quinshon Judkins. That's a interesting one there. But yeah, go ahead. Anything y'all want to talk about, put it in the chat. And appreciate y'all being here, by the way. Thanks for sticking with us through that top 10. Do us a favor. If you haven't hit the like button yet, go ahead and do that. Super excited to get out to more people and to get more people back involved in football. I think the draft will do that. A lot of people went into hiding after that abysmal Super Bowl, Mike, so maybe they'll get back out and start showing their face a little bit. It's always exciting to see who Brett Veach is going to draft, for better or for worse. I actually saw, earlier we were talking about bad picks from Brett Veach, and I'm the first one that always pops in my head. It's not Clyde Edwards-Helaire. It's not Breland Speaks. It's not Sky Moore. It's always McCole Hardman. That's the one that pops out the most to me. They traded up.
You hate McCole
I do not hate him. I think he's a good kid. He's never been a problem. And he had some good plays, right? But they traded up for him in front of DK Metcalf, which is just mind-blowing, right? And, I mean, Brett Veach even knows that, right? I mean, he said that's his biggest regret of any draft, right? Well, I did see someone in the chat earlier, and I lost it now, but he was like, don't you all talk bad about McCole Hardman. The Chiefs would have won 2 of their Super Bowls without McCole Hardman. That is the most asinine thing I've ever heard in my life. Look, just because he caught the game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl doesn't mean that the Chiefs wouldn't have won without him. Because let me tell you this. I could have ran that route and caught that ball. Okay? Like, I'm telling you, it was wide open. It was a good play call. The only thing he had to do, and thank God he did, was focus enough to catch the damn football. And, I mean, that's it. I just think he was not a game changer. It's not, the Chiefs were not going to lose Super Bowls because of McCole Hardman. And I think that's a crazy statement, and I thought I would bring that up. That's just wild. That's like saying the Chiefs wouldn't have beat the Eagles the first time if Sky Moore wasn't on the team.
Brett Veach has got a lot of good draft picks, but I think the bad outweighs the good.
Yeah.
It's always going to do that,
I think
though.
so, too.
You get so many picks, you're always going to miss more than you hit. So I think when he hits, he has hit very well. And I guess you put Patrick Mahomes to Veach as well.
Well, yeah, he was pounding the table for him. That's how Veach got his GM job, right? He's like, look what I did.
Yeah, so, I mean, you've got all that going for you, but he routinely misses a lot, and I'm telling you, he misses a lot on defensive line, which is what's scary.
Yeah,
knowing that we need defensive line.
That's why when you pair that with Walter Nolan, I'm terrified. DFN Lone Wolf says Walter Nolan or Grant. Sammy Joe says Harmon, Nolan, or Grant. So they're liking those top end guys there. Julia Gulia likes Derek Harmon. And I think I've seen Derek Harmon and a couple other people as well. But yeah, so I think that's pretty common. Derek Harmon is probably the most common one that I see that people want the Chiefs to take is Derek Harmon, Derek Harmon, Derek Harmon. That could be I'm not for sure. Don't get me wrong, but I think that like RGR Derek Harmon people, or maybe they just evaluated him pretty early on and people caught on. But that's been a big name that I keep seeing show up. Luigi says, I like Kyle Williams at 31. Am I crazy? And at 31, maybe we could call you crazy for that. But I do think that Kyle Williams, this is a guy that's going to be overlooked. And I also think that when it all is said and done, you could maybe look back in a few years and he might be the best one from the class. You know what I'm saying? Like he has that potential to be that kind of guy. So, I mean, you're not crazy other than the fact that you could get him in the second round, possibly the third.
Yeah, maybe.
Especially with that top end third pick we have.
He started out really high. I want to say him and Isaiah Bond are probably the two receivers that started off in most people's top 10s, and they've kind of faded. Isaiah Bond for more reasons than Kyle Williams. Kyle Williams just more the fact that he's kind of small. If you've noticed, Tez Johnson's name's kind of faded out too. You don't hear him being talked about a lot as you did back in like late February, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of people were Tez Johnson, and you don't hear it as much. You'll get these faders and risers, and I'm telling you, over the past few weeks, there's been a lot of risers. The risers in Chief Kingdom have been Luther Burden's name's been thrown out a lot because it was possible that he could be falling, or people think that we'll trade up. Of course, Derek Harmon and Walter Nolan has been thrown out. And then, of course, Josh Simmons, guys like that, like tackles. I feel like a lot of those are very, very obvious. And it does feel like if any of those guys are there, the Chiefs probably do consider those. The Chiefs are we do tend – I mean, I feel like as tricky and everything as everybody thinks Brett Veach is, the Chiefs kind of wear their pick on their sleeve every year. Like, it just seems so obvious. Like, even last year with Xavier Worthy, it felt so obvious.
It was it's too obvious, right?
Every single mock drafter in the world had Xavier Worthy mocked to the Chiefs from March 1st to the end of April, and then sure enough, Brett Veach, like, breaks his neck trying to trade up for him. So, It's like, it's like you want to be sneaky with who we're targeting, but at the same time, it's like Brett Veach is pretty – like, there's some guys that just stick way out for the Chiefs. I seen this one from Scott.
Yeah.
Malachi Starks. He will go in the first round, I think. If somebody needs a safety, I think he's probably one of the top safeties off the board, if not the top. A lot of people haven't been valuing safeties. Do you remember when I think it was Lewis Seen come out of Georgia a few years ago, and he went to the Vikings maybe, and then he just kind of busted. They cut him, I think. So I think a lot of people just aren't. They're kind of like the safety's kind of like the running back of the defense, right? Like nobody wants to invest in him.
Kind of an odd position to take in the first round, right? Like
nobody wants to invest it.
I think the value of the safety position has gone down, and I think it's kind of like with running backs. I think it's the same reason. Like you're seeing a lot of teams get a lot of production out of guys that they draft mid to late rounds, and the thing with Malachi Starks, though, I think he's a first-round pick. I think he's the back end of the first round, potentially high second round. But, I mean, that kid's really damn good. I mean, super high football IQ, got the athleticism, all that good stuff that you want from a safety, right? And I just don't know if he'll go in the first. I think it's him and the kid from Penn State that potentially could be in the first round. But I'm not seeing it. I don't know if a safety even goes in the first.
Can we talk about defensive linemen that Brett Veach have drafted? You ready for some names? Sure. You give me their grade in hindsight, okay? I'm going to count Patrick Mahomes' draft. So Tano Passignon, round 2.
D.
Okay. The next draft we took Khalil McKenzie, defensive tackle, in round 6.
D minus.
Derek Nottie, round 3, defensive tackle.
C.
The next year, Colin Saunders, defensive tackle, round 3.
C minus.
Defensive end Mike Dana in 2020, round 5. The best one so far, right?
C plus, B minus range, yeah.
2021, Joshua Kando, round 4.
D minus or F.
You seeing a trend? 2022, George Karlaftis round 1. That was kind of a gift.
Yeah, I give him an A on that one. Solid A. Good
Yeah,
job.
that's the only defensive lineman he took that draft. 2023, Felix in the first round. Kind of hard to say.
It's hard to say right now, but right now he's in that D range. We can maybe get up to C, B.
Yeah, I'll put him a C right now.
See
he
what
can
happens.
go either way.
Yeah.
B.J. Thompson.
Yeah, we don't know. Same thing.
Same thing, but he's kind of out
For
of
different
position.
Reasons. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Keandre Colburn.
F.
Yeah, don't even play here anymore. Last year, no defensive tackles. So if you look at defensive end, defensive tackle, Brett Veach has been atrocious.
Abysmal, right? And you could almost say that about the trenches as a whole. Other than Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith. I mean, let's talk about it. I mean, maybe we talked about, maybe the scouts were just not that good with the offensive line. Maybe they're not with the defensive line either. I don't know, but there's definitely something to that. I think that the Chiefs mostly have hit on skill players. Brett Veach has mostly hit on cornerbacks.
It's not probably just Veach, though. I'm telling you, the Chiefs, for as long as I can remember, have never been able to hit defensive players on the defensive line. Look at the Chris Jones. Okay, so Chris Jones was a good hit, right, in 2016. But in that same draft, they took Daddy Nicholas, defensive end from Virginia Tech.
Daddy.
What in the world was that about? The year before that, they took one defensive lineman, Rakeem Nunez-Roches. Not that great.
I like Nacho, though. Hey, shout out Nacho, though. He went to high school right over here across the street from me.
In 2014, they took D. Ford, okay, but he was classified as a linebacker. But, yes, he did play defensive end. He was okay. D. Ford, I'll give you a hit with that one. Go the year before that, Mike Catapano, defensive end. That's who we took. The year before that, we took Dontari Poe. Dontari Poe turned out to be good, but he did not live up to the hype he was supposed to get coming out of college.
Right.
Jerome Long, defensive tackle. Didn't even play a snap for us, I don't think. Go back the year before that, we had Alan Bailey. We had Jarrell Powell. We had... These are just... It just never ends with how bad the defensive line draft is in Kansas City. Glenn Dorsey in 2008. These are all subsequent, too. Brian Johnston, 2008, defensive end. Turk McBride, Tate Tyler in 2007. Both were horrible. 2006, Tamba Hali. Like, it's literally between... We hit on a defensive end every once in a while, but it's been since Chris Jones has been our only defensive tackle hit in 20 years. It's rough.
Slim pickings out there, Mike. It's not good. It's not good. Maybe they can buck that trend this year,
Yeah, I mean, you might have to.
Might be able to do it. We'll see. It's going to be exciting. Well, guys, stick around this week. It's going to be a long week. It's going to be a draft week, obviously. We're going to be doing live streams every day this week. Mike's in the middle of the whole flood situation. Going to be going out of this Airbnb to maybe somewhere else to working on his house, blah, blah, blah. So we're just going to do live streams each day. No time to really record or edit the videos. And we still got some other rankings to do. We're probably going to do defensive ends and cornerbacks and call it that. We might, if there's a safety that we think could maybe scrape that top 10 in defensive backs, we might just lump them together, potentially. Let's go, baby. What we got?
Ooh.
Train a rolling
Productions,
in.
baby, with a gifted sub. Appreciate you, brother.
Julia Gulia got the membership. Welcome back, Julia Gulia. Appreciate you, KC Chiefs Productions. And he didn't have no fancy name for me to read today. Kind of upset about that one.
It's okay.
Kind of upset about that one. Also, Sammy Joe pointed out Tillery. We didn't talk about him earlier, so that's an addition to the defensive line that we didn't talk about today. So keep him in mind. But, I don't know. I think the Chiefs definitely need to invest in that position in this draft at one time or another. I think another guy that we, obviously we didn't talk about, but there's the kid from Nebraska. I think we could get in mid to late rounds. I think is actually going to be pretty good. Ty Robinson is his name, I think.
Yeah, he wasn't too bad.
He had some really good tape. I mean, there's some other guys hanging out down there. So We'll see what happens. But yeah, we'll be doing live streams all week. We'll be ranking everything. And then, of course, we're going to be live streaming the draft too. So, of course, that starts Thursday night. And we'll also do Friday night and Saturday morning. So it's going to be a lot of you hanging out with us, and that's going to be fun. So do us a favor, spread the word. Let's get people in here, get them involved, have some fun, talk some football. It's going to be a fun week, man. It's nice to get back to actual football to talk about, right? It's not just being in your feels about that horrible Super Bowl performance or something. Like, we can get back to it. It's time to see what's going on. Because, I mean, to be honest, free agency wasn't the most exciting thing in the world, now was it? So this could be it. This could be what gets us going again.
I knew it was going to be.
Yeah. So, yeah, appreciate you guys being here. Do us a favor. If you haven't hit the like button yet, do that on the way out. If you're watching on X or you're watching on Facebook, make sure to share that with your friends, family, followers, whatever you want to call them. And we'd appreciate you for that. And we'll see you next time. Go Chiefs.
Get wild.